starts in the past. Gives you that 300 feel when it starts. Oh wow, look who's here. Another person watching. That must be Mr. Let's see, Mars, but he's not showing up yet.
Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Where's the picture?
Coming in. Give me a minute.
Sorry, my nose is all stuffed.
Yo, no need. Sorry, PD. What's rocking? What's rocking? So, what are we discussing right now, my friend?
So basically, I showed the premiere, which I'm probably all the stuff I did before. I'm probably gonna cut. But here's their ticket to ride to the movie of Black Adam. So we're
Oh
not
yeah.
sure. This is a spoiler-free review.
Why is it spoiler free? I mean, damn it! If you haven't watched it yet, you should have known by.
The movie isn't out yet.
Oh, all right, cool. It'll be a spoiler free review.
All right.
Is it
So,
doggone?
huh?
What were you gonna say?
No, I mean, we're starting out. We went to. I'm gonna say this again since there was nobody watching except me. Um, Starting out, we saw it at the AMC on 42nd Street. We got the premiere. We got a ticket. Got on a long line. Got in. It looked like it was in at least. It had to be 8 theaters that was there. They were doing 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. showing. So depending on when you were scanned in to get your ticket. So ultimately, we were able. It looked very. It looked like a chance of not getting in, but at the same time, we got in, and The Rock told us to tell you to go out and watch it when it comes out. So that's basically our review. Spin the rack out, no, but ultimately, initially, I would say I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. It had it starts off. It has a little like 300 feel with the kind of lighting that's going on in the past still, or going to the past. Then when you get to the meat of the story, it kind of has the Marvel thing when we introduced to Black Adam. It has a Marvel feel because he's battling with the other heroes. It has a lot of the DC stuff, which is the slow mo stuff going back and forth. But underneath this, all this stuff, which is the Flash, and stuff to draw you in with the big bright lights. There's a little bit of story here, and I guess if you might be connected to the comic, it has a bit of that sort of thing of his connection to his history. So ultimately, I'm gonna initially say I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was it led to there's some surprises that we don't have to worry about because they've already been told 3 million times. But the story wise, we're not getting into. We can get into some of the other stuff, but ultimately, we're just saying, "Hey, I liked it." What were your thoughts?
I mean, look. I mean, hey, we go there. The premiere was, I guess, the New York premiere was what it was because you had a bunch of stars show up that day. The guy who played, I guess, Hawkman was there. What was his name? Aldous.
Alders Hodge.
Hodge. Then you also had The Rock was actually in one of the theaters. So if you and you know it, well, because you guys will know, but the Empire Theater they have on it's not really on the first floor, but the first floor for viewing, you have the IMAX screen. You have the Dolby screens, and those, of course, are where those guys were. And then on the like he was saying, there were 2 floors worth of theaters that people could go to see different films. I mean, that's to see the film itself. So we were able to get everybody packed in. And it was a great environment. People were cool, chilling out as always, wanting to see the movie. And I gotta agree with you. Was we already know the story, and it generally follows the story, but there's a couple of twists, and it was very interesting, very well done. I think this movie was done what 2 years ago, possibly been done for a little bit, and they've had time to work and craft it. And I mean, I think what they've done to me compared to some of the movies that came out after the pandemic is that it seems that they took time to really make sure that they hit all the notes. So this is not a typical DC film in that, well, it's a DC film naturally, but I think they took some of the roadmap that Marvel has done to make sure they get people in there. They even have a end credit scene, which DC normally doesn't do. We know he's playing an anti-hero, but they want to make it. They had the funny laughs, they had the action sequence. When you thought the movie was over, it kept on going on. So they were hitting all the things they were supposed to do. And yeah, overall, we enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. The people in the audience were getting into it. Initially, they were a little slow getting into it, but by the end of the film, they were like, "Oh my goodness!" They were just not even the end. Before the end, like I say,
I don't
happy.
think it was slow getting into it. I just think there's not something where they killed you on the jokes, so there wasn't like a groans. That's
Well, what I'm saying is not even the jokes. I'm saying I think a lot of people they know that they don't really know the character, and so I think they need to look a little bit more, see more of the character as time went on, and then they got into it. You're right. Some jokes were pretty good, some jokes were flat, but I think as they started
well,
falling behind the character, they got more and more into it.
I didn't really mind the jokes. Usually in Marvel, I kind of just I need to get out of here. I need to leave the movie. I don't want to hear 2 million every other character mention Captain America's ass every 2 seconds. I don't want to deal with that. So, but usually what Marvel counts on is we're just gonna to repetition. We're gonna do callbacks. So ultimately, at some point, you might laugh at it. Whereas there's callback in this, but I think ultimately there was initially a Beverly Hillbillies aspect to Black Adam since he comes from the past, and that's something that I think Hollywood likes to have. But ultimately, they basically explained it later in the story that it's not. He understands. He's just not abiding by any sort of rules at all, whether it be
Did you get that feeling that he had that Beverly Hills Billy feeling? I didn't get that. I thought he kind of figured out things relatively quickly. So it's like,
I
whoa, what
mean,
just happened there?
I'm
It's like,
saying the Beverly Hillbillies aspect is just something that Hollywood likes. To have someone interact with something that they don't understand, like the doorbell or this, that, and the other. Just that aspect of like saying, whereas they played it up, they played, one aspect of him, just to say not using doors. But then in the middle of the movie, he says, "Oh, I know what a door is. We used those back," and there was just no respect for having to go around something. He just
oh,
goes.
he has all that power. Why go around the door when you have the power? But I mean, that's a good point you make because, I thought that he, getting missiles shot at you and stuff. He looked at it weird, but it was like, no biggie. Were you getting shot missiles back in Kandahar 5,000 years ago? No. I'm trying to say people are on phones. Nothing seemed to have like really freaked him out. So he just accepted it, and the audience went along with it. So it's not like he's a man out of place in time, and he's like really trying to struggle to do it. No, he says, "Hey, I have to do something. I have to rise to my responsibility." But yeah, overall, look, I like the movie. I think it was good. I think this could be the beginning of the Rock verse. I think I told that to Pete. I'm not sure if many of you guys are gonna like that but the Rock verse or the Adam verse. I'm not sure what you're gonna call it, but the thought is that if this is successful, they're going to roll out other movies. Probably there'll be a Justice Society movie. Probably there will be a Hawkman movie. There is going to be a definite. They're talking about three Black Adam movies, and I'm not sure if Shazam will now be part of this whole shebang or not, but they did some incredible things. Like we were talking about some of the characters, the side characters, the Atom Smasher. What was your take on the Atom Smasher? Um,
I think they. I don't think. I think what was it like the neophyte type of hero type of thing. But it's kind of tough to do tall giant things because all they do is play. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. They don't do how Marvel tried to do a Giant Man, where basically he could rapidly do things, whereas every time they do a giant, it's got to be like, I'm going and you get hit in the face, and you can't move fast, and all that stuff. And it's like saying, I think in the past we talked one of our episodes, someone saying well, the physics are in truth. This he'd probably be slow. No, no, no. This we're throwing out actual physics and we're dealing with comic book physics. So I think the cool part is with Adam Smasher, some of the scenes, but then basically they did there certain things to kind of keep him out. Um, I think as far as the team, I mean, I was being a big fan of, I mean, a big fan as far as you can for DC, but I didn't have a lot of comics of Doctor Fate. But when I saw him, I liked him.
Yeah,
So it was like, and this kind of true here too, where he was like, they had some aspects that were similar because it was crystals, and crystals can be considered something close to Doctor Strange. So I kind of called it like Doctor Strange Fate, and that goes to the Marvel type of thing. But at the same time, his character, his approach to things, because they were dealing with the part of fate that he could see the future, which I don't remember being a part of his history, but I could be wrong. But it was interesting to see how they played it, and not to the end result, but the fact that he had seen these visions and stuff like that. But I think they also kind of turned the cliche around, like his weakness. They didn't spend too long on that. It felt like it was going to be a big thing in the story. They didn't kill themselves on having him have a kryptonite, where they kind of set it up early on, and then when it happens twice, it kind of just lets it go, which is better for me than doing the end where you see him, ah, and then they had a couple of like who's it, Hitchcock style MacGuffins where they say, "Hey, we're trying to get this thing," and as they went along, they didn't allow you to follow it. They did the three-card money with the MacGuffin, which would be like the crown. It's in there. It doesn't really give away anything, but there's a crown in there. But they kept you guessing where it was, which I thought was more interesting to say, hey, we saw it go with this person, it has to stay. But we didn't know that at the same time there was some subterfuge to get this thing. It kind of is what you have to do with a MacGuffin, because you don't want the audience being led directly to it. You want the audience to be following a story here, and then the story is like here, but you're engaged. If you're not
yeah.
engaged, then you're saying, "Oh, this is nuts." But if you're engaged, the MacGuffin, you will lose the MacGuffin, and like the idea in Hitchcock, the money. Like you're thinking, like, "Hey, this guy is doing this because he wants to get the money," and then when the money goes down in the car in the water, you're like, "What is happening here? Like, why isn't Norman Bates taking the money? Like, what is it? Why did he kill her for? So isn't this about money? She stole money when she left town, and then he kills her, but he didn't take the money. We're thinking, well, the money is going to get. So it's like that's the kind of thing you have to do with a MacGuffin. It's kind of keep the people kind of guessing where they're following something, and they're like, wait a second, what
What
the
are they really
the
following?
money isn't a part of this story. But it's like the way the Simpsons work. The Simpsons start with a thing that usually the rest of the story has nothing else to do with. It has an intro where it gets you into the story, and then it just leads you to the next thing, and that's the way you kind of. And people would say, "Oh, The Simpsons, a cartoon," but you look at their type of storytelling. You can see that that's instead of having a B story, that's almost having a lead in that leads you into something else, and different from like James Bond, where he's completing a mission and then he goes to another mission after. Whatever happens in that beginning part kind of leads you right into the next thing, which is how this thing starts too. But there's a mystery in that, which is another one in
But
plain
then
sight.
we go back to the characters again, Petey, where we
Uh,
originally started, like Doctor Fate and the other characters in the team.
yeah, Hawkman. Hawkman. They get that's what we get back to DC. But people they say Civil War because you already know they're going to be fighting with the Justice Society and Black Adam. But it's more like Batman v Superman, where we have these people trying to be polar opposites. So we get all our heroes fighting, which is what we had in the Avengers and all that other stuff. So it could be either Marvel or DC, but they got their slow mo, which is definitely DC.
Wait a
That's
second. I mean, we did like Doctor Fate because Pierce Brosnan did a great job playing the character. The character I think has been one of the best that they've shown in a very long time. The Hawkman, yes, you have a lot more antagonism between him and Black Adam. But we remember he's being structured as an anti-hero, the Black Adam. So, and he's coming from the past, and this should be something that everybody knows that they're sent towards Black Adam to stop him because they know what's happened to him in the past, right? So they have the legends and they're going after him. So it's not something that you're saying structurally heroes against heroes. It's really against. Yeah, in the film he is a protagonist, but they are looking at him as an antagonist because of what he could possibly do, right?
well, in the movie, he's presented as the savior to this area, and he says he's not. So it's kind of he's not yet the anti-hero. He's just doing his thing. He just has a moment of good in him. So he's not really like the way the Submariner is or the classic
Doctor Doom.
kind of. Doctor Doom is not an anti-hero. What I guess you could say
Beg
that.
to differ. Beg to differ.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I had a bad cough there.
Almost got. Oh, what was it like? Way people perceive Magneto, that mutants are being tortured and he's handling it. Like the reason for the being the anti-hero. This is just we're not privy to it. We just know that he's in this town, and ultimately, what I did like is, because other thing that is more Marvel or old school DC is having some human characters running around in the story that are key to the story, not just cannon fodder. But Black Adam isn't really interested in the kid at all, which was interesting to me. But he has a connection to the person who brought him back. So it can be seen like he was doing an act of good, but at the same time, he just connected to this person who brought him back, which
Right.
kind of, so it's interesting to see. You could take it either way because he's really disregarding the kid. He takes in some of the kids' stuff he's saying. So, but yeah, I mean, this is um, this is a fun movie in my opinion.
But before we go there, what about the other characters like Hawkman? I mean, Cyclone. What do you think about those characters that they
I
brought in?
thought Cyclone had a great visual. I don't think that she was a strong character because it was kind of a like set up just to saying that she's a positive person, like a positive female. I don't think we kind of scratched the surface of what this character could be. It's kind of there, but she had a great visual with Hawkman. I'm not really too keen that they changed his race, but if they were going to do that, I kind of wish they kind of hinted on the fact that we've had many Hawkmans. We've had Qatar Hall, we had Carter Hall, and that sort of thing. So I think if we got that this is a different reincarnation of Hawkman, then we could just move past this. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of was it Aldris Hodge. So I'm a big fan of him. So I'm just happy that he might have a character that he can stick with. You know.
I mean, I liked them, and I wasn't too bothered by the change. I mean, you're right. I think it made more sense, and I think it would take more sense if they really did that, and they could possibly explore that in another time or another movie that they went into because they didn't really go into his Carter. Did they go into the Carter Hall um, um,
No,
character? No, they just basically called him Hawkman, and that was it. And then he knew Doctor Fate for a minute. So it's I think they can always do that. And I think he came out very strong. I think he did a really good job. We can really believe the Hawkman. A JSA movie, I would love to see again if they develop some of the stuff and probably add more characters. They've been pushing JSA in different media. They had what was the name of that girl? The girl with the spear. What's her name? The one Jeff Johns made. She's on the CW.
Stargirl.
Stargirl. And they have them there, and I think they've had a couple of DC movies, animated movies with the Justice Society. So you see, they're trying to integrate them back into the main timeline with everything here. And why versus the Justice League? Possibly they think it's just better to have an older group. I'm not sure. I've been trying to figure that one out for the longest, but
So
it's
I'll say that again.
well, I mean, now they keep pushing the Justice League. Like I said, they have her in Stargirl, Justice Society. Why are they bringing it back? I mean, why not bring the Justice League to the forefront? And it may be because the corporate honchos and Warner Brothers are like, hey, you can't touch the Justice League. That's just for the movies. And JSA, you can do whatever you want to do with it. And that's why
Well,
they've been more flexible with that particular group. Uh, you know,
I'm pretty sure it's something that Jeff Johns kind of pushed through to say, well, we don't want to pay these high salaries yet to get them all in this one movie, but at the same time, let's also connect it to these other things, and we get to flesh out more of the DC universe.
yeah, I mean, that could definitely be it. I mean, I don't know. But again, if they do make the new Black Adam verse or the Rock verse
It's not the Rock verse.
or the Rock verse, hey, it doesn't matter. But one thing I got to say about the movie, the quality is very good. I think that most of the special effects came out really, really well. I think they definitely spent time and money in the development of this film. So if you're a Marvel fan, I can't see how you're going to say this movie is bad. It's only because you're a partisan. And let's break it down. There's Snyder people, there's Marvel people, and they're going to be fighting people like saying, hey, this is good or just bad. I just think that if you overall enjoy a sci-fi, a superhero film, it's going to hit all the cylinders for you. I can't see how you're going to rock, how you're going to not like it.
Well,
Those particular partisans, and there's some people who are anti-Snyderverse. I don't want to say who it is.
I would say the what was it? The 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 bickering is more Marvel, but the fact that they didn't give you a whole history of the Justice League and how they formed is important. That they just, and this is what I felt should have been done with the Justice League, to say these characters are just here. Here's the dynamic. Let's move forward and have them do a story where they're interacting. Because Marvel is a big origin thing, even though when we don't think we're seeing an origin. They're saying, hey, we didn't get a Spider-Man origin, but we got Spider-Man in his beginning stages. We just didn't see him getting bit by, they kind of extracted him getting bit by the radioactive spider, because I think in both earlier movies, the radioactive spider, I guess no, I guess the second one's a little more ridiculous than the first one, but they kind of took that out. But it's basically the origin of him losing, him having a father figure, losing the father figure, and then losing his support system. So you have basically what we didn't expect in there, and then you see the TV shows a lot of origin, building them up to the part where they're at their, like the way James Bond movies did, 3 or 4 movies, and then we have James Bond where I guess he's supposed to be. But it's this one.
But you don't necessarily need the origin for everything, right? I mean, is that what you're trying to get to say?
Yeah,
It's like
that's what I
Santa
think
Claus.
that
We know who Santa Claus is. Let's just move on, right? Get to the story. That's basically what
so
you're saying.
I think you, without just a little bit of thing of saying, hey, Amanda Waller sent this group out to take him out. That's all you needed. You don't need to say, how did they form? Why were they together? Why are they a team?
But
Well,
it is legit to ask who's Amanda Waller. I mean, not everybody's seen the Suicide Squad movies or read everything. So it is fair to say who is she to be giving these guys orders, right? Or putting them together.
I don't know that she
Is
was
it
giving
not?
him orders. She was saying that this guy's a threat level and he's killing people. Ultimately, the fact, well, it gets too much into the plot, but I mean, I guess you could say that, but I think she was just saying, hey, this is we need help. She's the Nick Fury of it. You don't know it. Now you know, brother.
But they know. So here, a couple of quick questions for you, and you give me quick answers regarding what you think, your take on this. One, when you see in the movie characters that don't want to reveal. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to give any spoilers, but Intergang, you know, what's your take on them? How do you think that they are in the film?
It's interesting that they used them since they kind of extracted as much dark side as they could from the other movies, like Wonder Woman.
Mm.
So it's something that was this looming threat that was in the DC universe, but now they're in the DC cinematic universe, which is cool. They have all this cool tech and whatnot, even though they cannon fodder. That's what you need. Maybe I would want what I was saying for it's almost this movie is Suicide Squad done right. Right? Because you could get a Black Adam action figure, you could get Hawkman, his design was amazing. Um the Dr. Fate, even the girl with the wacky powers that less, but Atom Smashers looks great. But then you have, I mean, obviously, when you look at the main villain, there is some DC animation going along there, but at the same time, you had these intergang guys, and their tech is something that you'd want as an action figure, and that's what I think. Even if they didn't do a great movie, they didn't have things that could be turned into cool toys. You know, the design work of that movie of and the villains. Whereas Star Wars, you couldn't get Luke or Han, you could get a stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper was as cool as some of the other characters, right? So that's what I'm thinking. With this movie, you have something that's you can do, you know, put some memorabilia out and be successful with, which is I think is an important part of especially this DC stuff. And I think they missed the boat on the Suicide Squad, and I think this one kind of hit that. So they also had the slow motion. Oh, I will say I did imagine that the Enchantress was going to pop up since they had so much magic stuff, and I was really worried she was going to show up, but thankfully she didn't. And I guess that's it. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, I mean, so I mean, do you think it presages anything by having Intergang in here?
I don't know. I felt, in my opinion, they work against Darkseid. Because Darkseid is basically kind of is behind that, or him or Desaad. But I can't imagine. I don't. I was thinking that they were, you know, post Justice League against doing Darkseid because I mean they backed off of it and put did the Steppenwolf stuff, and then now you have Intergang back. So
Okay,
I would love to see some Darkseid stuff. I
so I'm
know
glad
that.
that's exactly what I'm trying to get to. So the point here is that do you think and so I don't know, I watched this movie and you guys will tell me whether what you guys think once you watch it. Do you think this can be a continuation of the Snyderverse in certain aspects? You know, we do have characters from the Snyderverse. We do have a continuation of if they're bringing in Intergang and Intergang has a connection with Darkseid, will that eventually come into the fore in the future? That's something that's a possibility. They were not able to really do a good job to me in the Snyder movie with the Dark Side, but possibly they could bring him in the Black Adam movie. So you tell me what you think
You
about
want
that, baby.
you want Darkseid to get behind beat by Black Adam because
Black
I
Adam
think
and the Justice Society combined.
I don't think the hardest character to do is Darkseid
Why?
because because
Data beams?
the same way when Jack Kirby, Stanley and Jack Kirby were doing Doctor Doom, one of the last story they did with Doctor Doom was Doctor Doom uses an inhibitor ray and basically leaves the Fantastic Four in Latveria. And he doesn't, sometimes he sends some things at him, but then he brings them back. He brings them to dinner, which obviously Empire Strikes Back stole, where Darth Vader takes the heroes to dinner. That was sort of the same sort of thing. That's Lincoln acting up. But Lincoln, stop. Hold on. Stop it. It's terrible. But anyway, so in this, the thing of it is, doing it right, he's not really a fighter. He's a schemer. He's a planner, and he's plotting plotting the death of everything. So they were trying to keep him as a visual, so you see him fighting like the gods and getting hurt and all this other stuff. But you have to remember that Darkseid is a master planner, like at a large scale. So doing him right is basically having a looming figure kind of appear and basically, terrorize you without doing much. Like
Well, we've seen him. He's seen that basically with the Steppenwolf character, right? We saw that already. That he schemed and had him work through in the Snyderverse, and then we also see now that if Intergang is really involved, if Intergang in the movie is involved, then he's probably may also be involved in it too. So I mean, hey, I'm just saying that it's just teasing possibilities. Of course, Darkseid does not show in the movie, so don't go in there and say, "Yo, you said Darkseid." No, Darkseid is not in the movie. But I'm just saying the fact that Intergang, which is connected to Darkseid, is showing up in his, the connection is there. Whether there's a possibility in the future, probably the third film that you have Darkseid coming in. So right now we have the JSA. The next movie is probably going to be. It could be. They basically said that it could be the Justice League versus Black Adam, and probably the third film would be where they
I'm not seeing no
together.
Justice League versus Black Adam.
Or I mean, I don't
It'll
know.
be the same movie we just saw.
Or probably characters from the Justice League going back at him, and then possibly, the final one of them all will probably be capping it off with a Darkseid trying to catch him in. So I'm just saying, hey, possibilities are there if you really think about it. Unfortunately, his greatest nemesis should be Shazam, and we know even the way The Rock talks about it, he's not saying Shazam is his greatest nemesis. He's looking at other characters in the DC universe that to him he considers the greatest thing. And look at the promo that he puts out. The DC universe basically has someone else to watch out for. So I'm excited. So the possibilities are there. And Snyderverse fans, this may be a way for you to finally like make peace with the rest of the whole universe. You're not getting the full Snyderverse, but you're getting an intro there. Okay.
What about the other thing? We have one thing was announced, but people were iffy that it actually happened.
You want us to say that? You want to say that? I mean, you want us to say it?
I don't know. What do we? Is publicly known that this happened?
It should be. If you Google it, it shows up. So the question you said you don't want to say any spoilers, but I think that's probably the biggest spoiler there is. And that will color how many people will probably see the film, unfortunately. And I think if it stands on its own, it does perfectly fine.
Well, then if that's the case, we just have to remember that The Rock said for all of you guys to go out and see it. And otherwise it's definitely a fun thing. It has some DC aspects, has some Marvel aspects. Was there something else? There was something else I wanted to say about it, but I think this is a step in the. It's not because Aquaman was extra cheese. There was too much cheese in that one. Wonder Woman was fine. The only problem was that people don't like wishes in the Wonder Woman verse, but they're okay when Spider-Man wishes for a better future. What do you say? We can get away with wishes in one case where someone wishes and destroys entire lives and whatnot.
But I think the problem that's a whole nother issue there, because that's not really the Black Adam, just so you know. But I mean, wishes. I think the wish issue is it was the way it was handled. It didn't do the
Wonder Woman is better than Spider-Man. Spider-Man was better than Wonder Woman.
Way better.
No, it was not.
Way better.
It was as dumb as that one. If one is dumb, the other.
But you know what? One was taking the audience came out more for one than the other. I think people forgive Spider-Man versus.
Because they had more characters.
No, I think because there was more action. The action that was the final battle at the end, and I think they follow the standard comic book trope. If you saw She-Hulk where she just totally broke the fourth wall and did whatever the heck she wanted to do at the very end, and it landed totally flat. That's a whole nother issue. You know,
That's not what happened in She-Hulk.
yeah, it sure as hell did happen in She-Hulk. I don't know what
We're
you're
doing
watching.
another episode right after this now.
Yeah, we're gonna have another episode right after this. You know,
All
once
right,
are we finished with this?
We're closing this one up and fighting.
Yeah, we fighting. You taking out your butter knife. I'm taking out my machete. All right.
We'll see.
Let's rock it. So hey, if you agree or disagree with the what we were talking about in terms of the Snyderverse, the Black Adam movie and stuff, please comment.
The Snyderverse, but anyway,
I think there's a lot of elements of the Snyderverse in this Black Adam, and there's nothing to be wrong. I think that this is a perfect compromise for people who are Snyderverse fans to come in and take a look at it, and people who are not Snyderverse fans, I think they're going to enjoy it. This is a very enjoyable. This is basically DC following the Marvel formula. Can't go wrong with it.
All right, so close it out.
All right, so I mean, are we closing out, or are we just moving on to the next one?
No,
our next topic.
No, we got to get to a different. I got to do a different one.
Okay.
Thing. I got to chop this one up. I got to cut the beginning.
Hey, if you like what you see about if you agree with us 100% about the whole Black Adam movie, please give us a thumbs up. We try not to give too many spoilers, which I don't know why we need to wait. Just give you the whole doggone thing.
I haven't seen it.
You know, give us a thumbs up, comment. Spin Rack
out.